Kentucky's Supreme Court says the governor's budget cuts to public colleges and universities are illegal. That breaking news just ahead.
A busy southern Kentucky intersection shut down for nearly 3 hours this morning after a tractor-trailer wreck.
3 of the 4 people charged with shooting a 19-year-old in Clark County almost 2 years ago are scheduled to enter guilty pleas today.
WKYT News starts now with breaking news.
Good afternoon, WKYT News at noon. We begin with breaking news out of Frankfort.
Bill Bryant and Barbara Bailey here. Kentucky Supreme Court says Governor Matt Bevin's cuts to the budgets of public colleges and universities are illegal. Attorney General Andy Beshear sued the governor over his decision. The news conference has just wrapped up in Frankfort with the Attorney General. WKYT's Lauren Miner is there live now with our top story at noon. Lauren?
Hey, good afternoon. Well, like you said, the press conference just wrapped up a few minutes ago. Now, this press conference comes after the Supreme Court ruling today that Governor Bevin cannot slash the funding of public colleges or universities. Now, Beshear said the ruling was a win for everyone in the Commonwealth today. He also went on to say that the ruling proved 2 things. He's doing his job and that no one is above the law. Beshear said today that $18 million Governor Bevin was withholding is in a special account ready to be released at any time. He is hoping that Bevin will release the money to the universities today.
Today, the Supreme Court enforced Kentucky law, reminding us that no one, not even the governor, is above the law. Based on today's ruling, I'm calling for the governor to immediately release the $18 million he wrongfully withheld from our public universities and colleges.
Now, there has been no response from Governor Bevin just yet. Now, Beshear did say he hopes to see that money released today, and he hopes the universities will use it to help students and their families succeed. Reporting live in Frankfort, Lauren Miner, WKYT.
And if you'd like to see the full court ruling, we have that up now on WKYT.com. Today's ruling is a victory for Beshear, who has sued Bevin 3 times now, questioning the extent of the governor's power. He has also filed a legal complaint to intervene against the governor's recent overhaul of the Kentucky Retirement System's Board of Trustees. And Bevin's decision to abolish the University of Louisville's Board of Trustees is also under challenge by Beshear. Turning now to national news that we're watching very carefully today. North Carolina's governor called in the National Guard and declared a state of emergency after a second night of violence in Charlotte.
One person in the crowd was shot. The riot stemmed from the fatal and controversial police shooting of a black man. Kenneth Craig has the latest from Charlotte.
Protest spiraled into violence for the second straight night in Charlotte. Vandals smashed windows and looted businesses. One person in the crowd was shot. He is now in critical condition. Police used tear gas and used flash grenades as officers tried to clear the streets. At least 4 officers were also hurt.
We made a total of 44 arrests. Charges range from failure to disperse, to assault, to breaking and entering.
The violence prompted several major companies here in downtown Charlotte, including Bank of America and Wells Fargo, to tell their employees to stay home for the day and avoid the area. The unrest follows the deadly police shooting Tuesday of 43-year-old Keith Lamont Scott. Police say Scott had a gun, but witnesses say he was holding a book.
He had his hands up and the book fell off his lap.
CBS affiliate WBTV obtained a picture they say may show a gun near the victim's feet. Officials haven't released police video of the shooting.
While it's an active investigation, we don't want to release pieces of evidence that don't make a full picture.
But protesters are demanding it be released to help put to rest the controversy that's turned the city upside down. Kenneth Craig, CBS News, Charlotte.
Now, the plainclothes officer who shot Scott was not wearing a camera, but 3 other officers at the scene were wearing body cameras. Charlotte's police chief says he plans to show the video of the shooting to Scott's family today, but the video will not be immediately released to the public. We have some new information in about an overnight shooting that caused a lot of commotion overnight near the EKU campus. Richmond police say they went to a bar on Water Street around 1 o'clock this morning to break up a fight, and that's when shots were fired. Police found a car on South Madison Avenue where they arrested Dante Hill and Tyler Brand. They later found Anthony Gerald hiding in a backyard. Police say the three men got into a fight with a group of international students outside the bar, and the shots were fired at those students. So far, no victims have come forward.
3 people are expected to plead guilty today in a Clark County murder case. Aaron Staley, Christopher Robinson, and Lamont Wilkerson are charged in the 2014 shooting death of Amber Caudle, who was killed just 2 days before Christmas. WKYT's Victor Puente has more on what can be expected today in court.
3 of the 4 people charged in this case are expected to enter pleas today. That hearing was scheduled to begin about half an hour ago. 4 people were charged in the death of 19-year-old Amber Caudle. She was struck by a bullet and was fired in the apartment above hers that went through the floor. Christopher Robinson was indicted on charges of murder, first-degree burglary, and assault. Lamont Wilkerson and Aaron Staley were also charged with murder. Lillian Barnett was charged with complicity. Police say the 3 men entered the apartment above Caudle's in an attempt to rob the people inside in December of 2014. They say Barnett drove them there. Robinson, Wilkerson, and Staley are expected to enter guilty pleas today, although we aren't sure which charges they'll be entering pleas to. All 4 were scheduled to have separate trials, with Robinson's set to begin in January. Lillian Barnett is not entering a plea. The next hearing in her case is scheduled for January 5th, 2017. In Clark County, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Victor, thank you. And prosecutors could have pursued the death penalty in the case against Robinson. And we have an update for you this afternoon on the murder of a Kentucky National Guardsman. All 3 charged in connection with the death of Trevor Dilger will go before a grand jury. Dilger's body was found over the Labor Day weekend in a burning car near the Fayette-Woodford County line. Jeremy Harris is accused of killing him. We've also learned Harris is wanted in Tennessee for attempted murder. Christy Hanley and Justin Sloan are also accused in the Dilger case.
Well, fall arrived at 10:21 this morning, so it's official, but it's another hot one out there right now.
It certainly is, but the fall feel is on the way. WKYT meteorologist Micah Harris is live in our First Alert Weather Center now. An early look at the forecast.
You know, it's another day where it's clear skies outside. There's absolutely nothing going on, and we have talked about this since Monday, where all week long we're staying dry. There's no chance of rain. Then we head off towards your weekend, and there's a bit of a change, but now we've changed it even more for your weekend forecast. But it's really just the temperatures. I'm going to show you that coming up in a few minutes. Temperatures are sitting there in the 80s. A couple of 70s still left over down in east and southeastern Kentucky. It's another warm one in store, though. I guarantee that we're in the upper 80s to around 90 degrees. We'll do it again tomorrow, and then we look towards your weekend. If you're looking for that fall weather, which I believe most of us are, since it is fall, you got to wait till next week because we're just not seeing that much of a change. Like I said, I have changed some temperatures there on Sunday to really bump those up. We'll show you how high that goes and if we have any chance of rain before next week. That's coming up in a few minutes.
Micah, we'll see you shortly. Thank you. A major intersection in southern Kentucky is back open this afternoon after a tanker carrying 100 gallons of diesel overturned. That happened about 8 o'clock this morning in Somerset, right at the intersection of busy US 27 and Highway 80. Eastbound Highway 80 just reopened about an hour ago. WKYT's Phil Pendleton has more on the closure.
Well, the good news is that Kentucky Highway 80 headed towards London behind me going this way to my left is now back open again, but it was closed for nearly 3 hours this morning after a wreck involving one tractor trailer. Now, police say the truck was trying to turn left onto 80, the Russell Dyche Memorial Parkway, when it overturned. According to the public safety director, the driver was trying to beat the light when the load shifted and the truck overturned. About 80 gallons of diesel fuel and some oil spilled out, and a special response team was dispatched to clean up that mess. Now, the truck was also carrying spools of cable for the local Toyota Yetsu plant on Kentucky 461, and it took some time then to pick up all of those spools and load them onto a separate flatbed truck. No one was hurt in the accident. And again, the intersection was shut down while the local Somerset Police Department, the Somerset Fire Department, the local hazmat crew, and others worked to clean, manage, and investigate this scene. In Pulaski County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
All right, Phil, thank you. And police say that truck, by the way, was hauling a large copper wiring. It was the only vehicle that was involved.
2 people from Cincinnati have been indicted for distributing heroin laced with carfentanil. Philip Watkins and Janetta Crawford were arrested last week and indicted by a grand jury yesterday. Authorities say carfentanil is used to tranquilize large animals and is 10,000 times more powerful than morphine. Well, Erlanger police say they've arrested a man they've dubbed the Shirt-Face Bandit. They arrested Stephen Thomas yesterday and charged him with robbery. Last week, Fort Mitchell police posted this surveillance video of a man robbing a Shell gas station. Erlanger police say they suspect Thomas is responsible for this robbery and a string of others in northern Kentucky.
WKYT News broke this story earlier today. A developing political situation in Lexington as City Councilman Russ Hensley has resigned effective immediately. In a letter to Mayor Jim Gray today, Hensley says the death of his business partner causes him the need to refocus his time and energy. Hensley was appointed by Gray to replace Ed Lane, who died in office late last year. Hensley's resignation and withdrawal from the November election leaves Kathy Ploman as the sole candidate on the November ballot.
The Kentucky Horse Park has taken the first step in trying to host the 2022 World Equestrian Games. According to our news partners at the Herald Leader, the park has submitted a letter expressing formal interest. They're waiting until December to see if they've made the short list of official candidates before they began making formal plans for the bid process. The park hosted the games back in 2010.
All right, we'll see. An overnight fire destroyed 2 barns at Boyd Orchards. We'll tell you how it's expected to affect their business when we come back on WKYT News at noon, Kentucky's #1 midday news. Welcome back to WKYT News at noon, and we have a sad update this afternoon. Katie Prager, a Kentucky woman who's been battling cystic fibrosis along with her husband, has died.
Katie and Dalton's story gained national attention. The Fleming County woman met her soulmate while they were both undergoing treatment. Dalton lost his battle with CF over the weekend in his hometown of St. Louis. Katie's mom posted on Facebook that Katie died this morning.
A teenager was shot several times with a pellet gun during an overnight robbery. Lexington police say the victim's grandmother called them to say that her grandson had been shot and a man was in her home. When police got there to Brinell Drive near Eastland Parkway, they learned that the victim knows at least one of the 3 people involved. The victim is okay, and police are looking for 2 men and a woman who they think drove off in a blue van. Also overnight, a Lexington home was shot up while 3 people were inside of it. The shooting happened on Logan Place near Castlewood Park around 1 o'clock this morning. An officer who heard the shots saw a car leaving that area. The driver was arrested on unrelated charges, and now police are checking to see if he is connected to the shooting. Well, it's pretty much business as usual today out at Boyd Orchards, despite a huge fire overnight.
Check out this new Sky First video of the fire aftermath. The owner of the orchard says embers flew about 200 yards from the barns where the fire started, spreading into a large stack of hay near the playground. The 2 barns and the equipment inside were destroyed. And while the playground is closed today due to the fire, the farm is open. The owner says the fire will not impact their apples and pumpkins. He says he thinks the fire was caused by an electrical issue. The playground will probably still be closed tomorrow, but it is not damaged.
Well, the state attorney general has just held a news conference. He is responding to the Kentucky Supreme Court ruling against the governor's cuts to the state's university school budgets.
We'll have the latest on what he had to say coming up at 12:30.
I think it's pretty obvious that we're not going to see any rain anytime soon. There's nothing out there for us except back toward the east, and that's not moving our way. So it's going to be about the temperatures. I'm going to show you how high they go and your weekend forecast for all those events. That's coming up next.
Now, your zone-by-zone forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris.
Bright blue skies the rest of the afternoon. No problems whatsoever. It's an easy forecast once again for me. And you know what? We don't have many forecasts like this, where it's the whole week, 7 days straight of just bright blue skies, warming temperatures. We just don't have that much. So a nice little break is okay. Jackson, you're sitting there right there in the 80s at this moment. And officially starting, we saw that at 10:21 was the first day of fall. So we're already in it. Average temperatures of 55 degrees for the overnight low. High temperature right around 76 degrees. So yeah, we're not even close to that high temperature. This morning we actually finished off in the 50s, so we were close to that. It was a fall morning, but summer afternoon. Fall foliage peak time, mid to late October. We head towards your Friday. Friday looks good. No chance of rain. Friday night football, all is well. 87 degrees there by Saturday. All these events and festivals going on. The Apple Festival down in Liberty. That kicks off today and heads through your weekend, and your weekend still looks pretty good. And there's really no chance of rain anytime soon. So if you want to do it today, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, knock them out. It looks pretty good. Sorghum Festival there in West Liberty. No problems whatsoever both Saturday and on Sunday. Let's talk about your 7-day forecast and what you can expect. We're in the upper 80s to around 90 degrees today and tomorrow. Like I said, no problems whatsoever if you're heading out to eat this evening or tomorrow evening. Saturday, Sunday still stays dry with all these big plans, all these big events and festivals and things going on. We are looking pretty good. Big football game as we take on USC there on Saturday too. So weather's looking great, but I will tell you this, it is going to change drastically once we hit next week. You're talking about a big cold front rolling on through Tuesday into Wednesday. That's the timing on it now. And that drops temperatures to the 70s for highs, right around 70, maybe even 40s for overnight lows. Big shot at some cool air.
Here it comes.
So fall's just a few days late.
That's right.
Yeah, all right.
Exactly.
Thank you, Micah. We're coming right back. A battle between two teams with new quarterbacks will be taking place on Saturday.
The question is, how will the Cats' surprise starter respond? Dave Baker has sports next.
And checking stocks as we head into afternoon trading. Major gains on all the markets.
Even though we know he's going to miss at least several weeks, John Q. Public still doesn't know the specifics or the prognosis for the back injury that has sidelined UK quarterback Drew Barker. What we do know is, at least for now, the keys to the car have been handed to Steven Johnson. The JUCO transfer will now get his first start at quarterback. Johnson showed he could throw the ball last weekend, hitting on 17 of 22 attempts.
I mean, for me, I'm my own greatest critic. So, I mean, I want to go 100 for 100 completions and have no incompletions at all and execute everything perfectly. Have every perfect pass, but it went pretty well, I guess.
Meantime, the quarterback spot an unknown for South Carolina as well, as the Gamecocks will start a true freshman, Brandon McElwain, who's always been identified as a star in the making with unlimited potential.
I've seen the same guy that since he's been on campus, continues to improve every day and attacks the day the way you want it as a quarterback at South Carolina. And, you know, again, a guy that's going to continue to get better and better and better as we move forward and the experience he gets. And so I haven't, seen any change, which is good.
Be interesting to see what happens when the lights come on Saturday night. South Carolina in Lexington at Commonwealth Stadium. It's a 7:30 kickoff Saturday night on the SEC Network. Kentucky and East Tennessee State last night at the Bell Soccer Complex scoreless. In the second overtime, how about the penetration, the feed? J.J. Williams centers, and Andrew McKelvey scores to bring the match to an end. It's Bill Bryant's favorite play, the golden goal. And Kentucky beats ETSU, a team that had knocked off #1 South Carolina last week, 1-0 in 2 overtimes. Tonight on the Big Blue Insider with Dick Gabriel, Nate Northington, the first black football player in the history of UK and the Southeastern Conference. It's a conversation you won't want to miss, and that's at 6 on 630 WLAP. Again tonight over at UK outside the stadium, they'll officially dedicate the statue to the 4 men who broke the color barrier in Southeastern Conference football. We'll have live reports throughout the evening on that. Much more coming your way, guys, but for now, that's a look at sports on this Thursday.
All right, a moment of history to be commemorated. Buzz, thank you so much.
And there's much more to come in our next half hour of WKYT News at noon.
The Kentucky Supreme Court has ruled that the governor's cuts to the budgets of state colleges and universities were not legal. WKYT's Lauren Miner will be live at 12:30 with the latest on that.
Tomorrow night's Mega Millions jackpot is $20 million, and Saturday night's Powerball jackpot is $50 million.